Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the vlog. You joined me out again a week from the last time we were out filming on Mill Lodge. I'm down now on the lake that's closest to home, another Northern Ireland Carp Society water called Glenvale in County Down. I must have been a good boy because my wife's let me out for another overnighter, so I'm just here for 24 hours, maybe a wee bit longer depending on what time I pack up at tomorrow. I've had the rods out about 15 minutes. I've already had a savage drop back, and I think, to be honest, that was just one of my friends, the trout. They do become a bit more active in the spring, and as we start to get into the more summer months, that activity dies down and the carp will take over on the feeding. So but it's just good to get a bit of movement in the bobbing and get the heart going. As I said, I'm just here for 24 hours, travelling quite light. Rigs out again as usual via the boat for this lake. If we get stuff during the night, actually both rigs are within casting distance, so I could just flick them back out onto the spots, no problem. With the vegetation not completely growing on the trees yet, I have an ease of access of casting to both spots that I'm fishing, so no problem there. Because we're now into April, we're back down to 2 rods here for the summer. It's 3 throughout the winter on your ticket, but now we're back to 2, which is fine. You know, 2 rods in the right place is better than 3 in the wrong place. So we'll just see what this afternoon brings. It's lovely. There's no one else on the lake at the minute. There's just myself here, and long may that continue, though if others arrive that may help to push the fish around. I haven't been up on these Oaks pegs for around about a year. This is the first I've had a chance to actually come up here, which is great to be back on these pegs. You've plenty of room for fishing up here, and it's nice and quiet. There's only another peg beside me if somebody else rocks up, but generally if somebody's coming to do an overnighter, the chances of that peg being taken are unlikely. They're more likely to take the high bank over on the far side, which, to be honest, I think a few fish did come out of on the weekend, but this peg just commands a nice bit of water into the shallows as well, and it also gives me an opportunity to film in peace and quiet without giving anybody any bother. We'll do the same old, go through what we're doing on this session a bit later on the video. Very similar to before. I mean, it's literally just those Ronnie rigs rather than fished as wafters. Today they are fished with 15mm bottom baits. I'm using the 7 to 11 from RG Baits, yellow pop-ups on both rigs, with a handful of pellet and crushed Arctic crab boilies. So we'll see what that does for this afternoon. I'll keep you posted with what's happening, and hopefully we'll see something on the bank. If not, it's just good to get out and to get back on a water for bigger fish. This lake probably has most of the 20s and the 30s in NICAS and in the north of Ireland, and probably in all of Ireland if I'm honest, so it's the best lake for bigger fish. It is, being so close to home, stupid that I don't focus most of my time on here throughout this spring and this summer. Try to nab a few of these bigger fish, but I'll keep you posted as we get through this afternoon. Well, good afternoon. Nothing really to report so far. Just finishing off tidying around the bivvy. Thought I'd make myself a coffee, and we're going to have a few Jaffa cakes and sit back, relax and watch the water. And that's really what we're up to. The plan really for this afternoon is very simple. The rods are out, the rods are going to stay out. I'm going to sit here, keep an eye on the spots, keep an eye on the water, see if I see anything for tonight. I haven't put much bait out. I'm not overly invested in the spots. If I see something that's worth sending the boat to / casting to. Otherwise it's a case of putting the rods back out about 5 or 6 o'clock onto the spots and hoping that when the light levels fall through the first light is when the fish are going to feed confidently. With the lack of pressure on here today, angling pressure that being,
I think that's the best chance we have of catching anything. The temperatures have fallen, and this is a deep water. It's whether the temperatures have fallen enough over the coming days to really drop that water temperature. It might be very similar to what it was, but I think the best thing really for this afternoon is me to sit here and use my eyes and see if I can come up with anything, and hopefully we'll see something that might give us a bit of an encouragement. Now, to be honest, I am confident enough something will materialise. That being said, I think it's important always to be confident in what you're doing. If it doesn't, there's always next time, but I'm confident that we'll at least see something anyway, but I'll keep you posted. Well, good afternoon. It's around about 3 o'clock, and I just sort of thought, as I'm getting my thinking cap on for this evening, I'd run you through the rigs and bait for what we're doing this evening. So, just like before, I've got one of those swivel hooks attached to a section of coated braid. It is kind of supple, but enough that it can kick back to self-reset, and I just sort of think that'll take on the contours of the lake bed better. I'm going to fish those on a 15mm RG Baits pop-up. As you can see, there's a bait screw there down to the anti-tangle sleeve, and I'll come in just like I have before with a close-up of that. Literally, it's going to be a high attract hook bait, and my bait of choice is going to be just a mixed bed of pellet. It's a tub that I filled with the club pellet, and that is 2mm up to, I think it's 8mm or something like that. So I'm just going to put a handful of those in, and like I said in the last vlog, I tend to use those quite sparingly because it's still early enough in the season that you want to allow those fish a chance to digest the bait. And then the boilie is the Formula, an Arctic crab, which you've seen before, and that is in 15mm. It's going to be sort of 50-50 pellet and crumbed and whole boilie, literally just a handful or a handful and a half really, enough to give those fish a feed. You know, there's some big fish in here, and that's what we're going after, so we'll see what that brings. Well, good evening. Nothing really much to report. The rods are finally back out for the evening. It's just about to turn 7:30, and literally the rods were sorted after dinner about 6 o'clock, and both rods went within a couple of minutes of each other with skittish sort of runs that would be sort of synonymous with the trout takes. Literally with those trout takes I wasn't happy, so I brought the rods in and redone the rigs. I backed one of the rods off into slightly deeper water and moved one of the rigs to another spot which I know has produced a few fish lately. So that's what we're going to do for this evening. Obviously earlier you'd seen that I was putting on those pop-ups. I've now changed to 12mm dumbbell wafters. I just sort of thought, with those trout and the type of protruded jaws that they have, the hook baits are still high attract, they're still visual, but this time the trout will have to do more to actually get those lifted, so hopefully that'll save any further disruption. I have had a couple of knocks on the left hand rod. I think that's possibly just liners, or it could be fish feeding on the spot. It's all now lots of things juggling, lots of things, making sure the bird life aren't diving on the left hand rod, making sure that if a trout picks up a rod I have to decide there and then whether I'm going to pick it back up. and reel it in and put it back to the spot. The beauty is with the left hand rod, I've marked the spot so I can clip it up and just easily cast it back into position. It's within catapulting range as well of flicking a few freebies over the top as well. And that's the thing, it is still quite early in the season, so the baiting approach has been literally, like I said earlier, a smallish handful over the spots. Maybe seems a bit harsh not giving the fish a feed, but I am only here till tomorrow and I don't want to overfeed the spot and then somebody else moves in and has a couple of fish off the spots I'm fishing. So we'll see what the evening brings with what we're doing. Hopefully at some point in the vlog I'll be reporting back with something else. Earlier on I showed you obviously the rigs that we're using and the baiting approach, so that's practically us until something happens. I'm just sitting here, excuse me, enjoying a coffee and relaxing. I've had that much caffeine today between tins of Coke Zero and coffee. I'll probably find it hard to sleep tonight, but again, as those light levels start to fall, for me, I'll be watching the water to see what happens. This is more a recce mission because although I have had a good few fish from this lake over the last couple of years, I haven't put enough time into what I've been doing, and I really sort of feel that this year I need to be putting more time and effort into this lake, especially with it being so local. I mean, it's sinful how quick I can get here compared to the other people on other waters, and it is for our Carp Society the lake with the biggest fish, so well worth the effort if it's put in. My main problem with here is at times it is rammed and the spots are the spots. You know, it's hard to get something going because it's not a massive water. If you're fishing the high dam over there, you're sort of fishing 2 rods out in front of you across a couple of spots, and over here, I mean, all the spots are the known spots, so we'll give it a bit of time and we'll see what happens. But I'll be honest with you, it's just nice to actually be out and knowing that if that rod goes, it could be, you know, a 30-pound fish, a 20-pound fish. You know, it's nice to have those odds in your favour. So here's hoping, and I'm just going to sit and enjoy my coffee and enjoy. If you notice as well, it's a Line of Duty cup, hopefully you can see that, and the only thing I'm interested in is bent carpers. No, maybe I'll edit that bit out, that doesn't sound right. I'm not interested in bent carpers at all, but enjoy.
I'm interested in one thing and one thing only, and that's bent coppers.